Alright, so now we will go over the Azure Compute section, right, with the Azure Computing. So Azure Cloud Computing, it provides the support for Linux, it provides the support for Windows, for SQL Server, for Oracle, for NoSQL, for SAP. It provides the support for pretty much all the environment that are available right now, right? All the different platforms that are available. It is open, flexible, as well as the enterprise grade for the cloud computing. It supports the configuration the way we need to. Now, for example, if you know that you will need a server with 10 CPUs, right? You can easily just configure it the way your need is, right? Also, once it is not that once you configure the server, it is not possible to upgrade it to the next with the more CPUs or something. That's not gonna be the case. You should be able to easily update it the way you need it. These are all the different data centers that Azure has created, right? Canada East, Central US. These are all the Department of Defense, right? East US 2 governor. In India also they have a big presence, right? In China too, in the Korea, South Korea, Japan, as well as the East Asia. Even in Australia, they have like two data centers, as well as in Brazil. They are spinning up a new data center in Arizona as well as into the Texas just for the government stuff. Okay. It allows you to deploy the applications within a seconds, right? And within a seconds means you can even create if you have to deploy a website within like a couple of minutes, you can create a web server, you can deploy the actual website, and you can start using it, right? It has already pre-configured images for you like Windows, Red Hat Linux, Ubuntu, PHP, SAP, and Active Directory. All other things are already configured for you, but if you want to use your own virtual image, what you can do is just if you are using a VMs, you can just export the virtual image and just restore into the Amazon cloud computing, and it will even work, right? So you can spin up your own image if you don't want to use the Microsoft image. Microsoft Azure is it just growing day by day. It supports the integrated cloud services. It is being used mostly by developers, IT professional, big companies, right? To build, deploy, and manage the application through the data centers. And I already described you the different location for the data centers, right? So you depending upon where you are planning to build your application, you can just host it into that appropriate region. Pay only for what you use. That is another benefit with the cloud computing. That means if uh, you have three virtual machines, you will just pay only for three of them, and that too for hourly basis. They will not charge you for entire year. They will not charge you for your entire month. You will just pay for what you use, right? That is another benefit with Azure. Same thing. Once you terminate the resource, again the same thing will happen. It will simply just go away. Just look at the platforms that are being supported right now: Microsoft.NET, Java, PHP, Windows, Linux, and JS or JavaScript, right? So these are all the platforms that are currently being supported by this. Also, it extends the support from your data center to something that is completely in the cloud environment. So you do have a way to there is a way to extend the on-premises data and apps into the cloud. Okay? It easily supports all that as well. Okay? Microsoft also protects all your business data as well as all your business source code with the most trusted security solution, right? And you can even monitor for all your threats that usually occur in the cloud computing. Let's look at the layout, how it is being structured right now. So I already showed you the actual Microsoft Azure console. That's the way it looks. You do have an option to create the cloud resources through the Microsoft PowerShell. That is one option. You can use Microsoft Azure Web Console. That's another option. Microsoft Azure also comes with all the SDK or software development library so that you can just use it through the C sharp or through the .NET as well, right? So what you can do is let me just show you how you can deploy a visual machine using the Visual Studio, right? So you just install, remember these are the libraries that you will need. You will need to get the NuGets packets, right? You need to make sure you get this type Microsoft Azure Management.compute. You have to install it as well as the network, as well as the storage, as well as the resource manager. You would need all this, even Active Directory. Just get all the packages and then install it in your Visual Studio. And once you install it, you are going to use all these libraries, right? All these namespaces, especially Microsoft Azure, right? If you just do like dot star, it's gonna get everything, but this is just for your knowledge. I'm just showing you. So now, even with the Azure, you can use all the C sharp code or PowerShell, even the Java, even it works with the chef. So we'll go over that later about the chef services, right? So as you can notice, all these namespaces are required for the C sharp code, right? So you need to download the Microsoft. Again, you can just use a Visual Studio to write all this code, right? Azure.compute models, network models, storage models, resource manager models, resource manager. And then you simply just call this method, right? To get the token as well as the credentials for this. Once you do that, then you are going to create a resource group, right? And this is the variables. You can even pass all the variables from the command line or from maybe a UI if you want to, right? And even just hard code it over here. So these are all the things that are required, such as a response group or a group resource group name, your subscription ID, your storage name, your IP address, your subnet name, your VPC or like your virtual network, your NIC name, your virtual machine name, the location where it's gonna reside, whether in east or west or central, your admin name, your admin password. You will specify all these things over here. And then, right, you are just going to write a couple of the methods like you will first create a task group, then this method you will create the storage group, and then you will just create the public IP. Once you perform all the then create a virtual network, then create a network interface, then create the availability set, and then create a virtual machine. So once all these tasks are complete, you can just simply launch your virtual machine, right? So my suggestion is you can even use the PowerShell, right? So this is another thing that is also supported, the PowerShell command. So you can also use, this was a very popular concept with Server 2012. Even Azure, you can go with the PowerShell or C Sharp or Azure CLI or even with the Java. They have support for pretty much everything, all the programming languages, right? Now, This is the website layout. So this will also allow you to do exactly same thing, but you are not doing it through the programmatic way. You are simply doing it directly from the website itself. Go to the next one. Let's talk about the architecture. This is just the sample architecture that I downloaded, right? Just for example, let's say you have your, there are multiple ways you can perform a deployment on this environment. Okay. If you have your existing software, if it has a SOAP or REST or XML services, microservices, you can just deploy it directly onto the cloud. And if your website and then other users can access that. If you have a website that uses all these microservices and you deploy the entire website onto this Windows Azure platform, right, then all the end users will directly access it, whether through the mobile or through the computer or through the web internet. So that's the way you can deploy your existing softwares directly into the Azure. So first, if you want to deploy your existing softwares, what are the things you need to do? First, stood up the infrastructure. Second, deploy or publish the code over there. Third, what you will do is just start using it from the internet or from by the end users. Okay, just click next. This is the Azure platform, right? That's the way it looks like. If you see the data layer, it has a table, blob storage, drives, queues, caching, uh, streaming data, reporting, and the databases. So that all goes to the data layer. Application layer, you will have a compute, that means your virtual machines, your website, your platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, Hadoop client, or a big data. That all belongs at the application layer. Integration layer, that means you are going to start integrating all the client with the integration service application layer through the traffic manager, virtual network, connect, service bus, access control, data sync, right? And this is your client layer. So your client layer, if you think about a PC or a cloud computer, it is integrated completely with the application layer. Your phone is completely integrated with platform as a service. Your browser is integrated with this, right? Your on-premises database is gonna do the data sync and store all your data into the database, right? So this is more like a client. This is more like the integration. This is more like the application layer. This is more like the data layer. So it is broken into one, two, three, and four parts. Okay. What are the main benefits for using the Azure cloud computing, right? Let's just go over that. There are a lot of benefits to go with the Azure cloud computing. The first one is pay as you use. So if you know that you have a job that requires at least 100 virtual machines and uh, maybe like 200 terabytes of storage, and it will be complete if you get that many servers, VMs, you can complete the job within like 3 hours. So with the Azure, you can just pay for the hourly rate. So if you know that you will need 100 virtual machines, you are just going to go through the VM, right, and spin up the 100 computers, virtual machines, and also attach that much storage. And that's it. You are just going to use it until your job is complete. Once you are done with the job, then you can just kill all the instances, right? One more advantage is it is closely integrated with all other Microsoft tools. For example, Office 365, your SharePoint, your Visual Studio. It is seamlessly integrated with the Microsoft product. Organization can use the virtual machine in Azure as they use it on the on-premises. You can have a Windows computer, you can have a Linux computer, so there are a lot of benefits, but most of the time, industries are starting to adopt all these cloud solutions now. Okay, excellent reputation. Microsoft is one of the most credible and reliable industry, right? In the history, the company has provided lot of technology powers, such as Skype, Bing, Xbox, and Azure is just one of the cloud environment. It supports the infrastructure as a service as well as a platform as a service as well. With the infrastructure as a service, it enables companies to outsource their cloud computing infrastructure and pay only for what they use. Platform as a service allows the companies to create their own web apps and softwares without having to buy and maintain the underlying infrastructure. This enables the organization to customize their cloud softwares like 365 to meet the expected specification and the requirement. Reliability, remember Microsoft is Azure platform is available 99.95 percentage. It is the same guarantee that Boeing is providing for the aircraft, right? So you can imagine how reliable this network is gonna be. It has a 24 by 7 tech support as well as it provides the health monitoring as well, right? It Microsoft keep growing their data centers overall worldwide. So currently as of now, they have total 19 regions and they are creating some more data centers. So throughout the entire world, their data centers are running right now. So they are popular for their support model. It provides a strong support for the BI and the analytics. It provides the managed SQL and NoSQL data services and also built-in support for digging deeper into the data and also improve the business processes and decisions, right? So you can even use the Hadoop framework for the big data with the analytics. So you can read the data from your data source, process it using the Hadoop, the big data architecture, and then generate the analytics output. So there are a lot of benefits that Microsoft provides, that Microsoft Cloud Computing provides. As you can see it on this, right? With the Azure, you can host the website, you can host the blogs, you can stream the audio as well as stream the videos, right? You can store the backup as well as the recover the data. You can deliver the softwares on demand. You can analyze the data for patterns and make the prediction. Now, for example, if Walmart wants to think about what kind of inventory they should have for next years in order to make more money, so what they can do is they can use the pattern, analyze the data easily on the Azure cloud computing, and then they can just make a prediction about the next year's inventory, right? So that's a main benefit for using the cloud computing as well, right? Another benefit is the speed. So in terms of speed, you can spin up any resource on in the cloud environments within like a few minutes or just within a few mouse clicks. You can provision the entire data center architecture into the Azure data center. So that is another big benefit with this cloud computing. Global scale is also one more benefit, right? It allows you to, it has the ability to scale elastically. That means if you need 100 GB storage and tomorrow if you're gonna need 1000 GB storage, it will automatically, elastically increase the storage without you being worried about that, hey, what will happen if my storage goes down on the server? You are worry free now. You don't need to worry about any of this. Okay? Built-in support for the open source. Remember, Microsoft was not popular for this at all, right? They were always stick with the licensing model, but now they are providing all the support for the open source tools and technologies. Now you can create the open source Linux server, you can use the Red Hat, you can use the Ubuntu. You have an option to use all these services and everything, right? So that's the big benefit with the Microsoft. It runs the Microsoft Enterprise application with the world-class support as well. So support-wise, you cannot beat Microsoft. I mean, they provide an amazing support for all your needs. You need to just sign up certain SLAs. Based on the SLAs, depending upon your issue category, they will respond to you within certain time. Or they sometimes, like if you have a company that has a good contract, I mean, they have a contract with Azure, they will even provide you the actual resource who will work directly with your team and guide them to migrate your company's infrastructure into the cloud environment. Yeah. What are the Azure services? Let's just take a look at that. It has a computes, the storage, the database. These are the core services that Azure provides. What are the additional services like a data sync, Azure Connect, reporting, service bus, network, identity, high performance clustering, caching, CDN? These are all the additional services, and this is not just one list. These are just some of the services, along with there are many more services that Windows Azure provides. What are the features? You can scale out for capacity, you can scale out for redundancy, short times out for the retries, and it has the independent operation and the stateless duration for the external storage. Okay, so these are main features for your services. Let me talk about a little bit more on the platform as service, in the infrastructure as service, and software as a service, right? So it supports all the most of the cloud computing services usually fall either in IaaS or platform as a service or software as a service. When I say infrastructure as a service, right? What you are doing, you are just renting the IT infrastructure from the cloud company for your need, or you are just leasing the IT infrastructure for your cloud computing needs. Once you are done with using your infrastructure, you can just give that infrastructure back to the cloud computing companies, right? So that is more like a pay as you go. It is similar if you want to rent an apartment, you just rent it from a big community. Once you are done with that location, you just move to a new location and give the location back to the apartment companies, right? So that's what it is, infrastructure as a service. That was a more like a apartment as a service. When I say a platform as a service, right, it just means it refers to the cloud computing services that supplies on-demand environment for developing, testing, delivering, and managing software application. It makes it easier for developers to quickly create a web or mobile apps without worrying about the infrastructure of servers, storage, network, databases, and all that, right? Software as a service, that means like a Salesforce, right? Salesforce is a great example for a software as a service model, right? So you are delivering a software application over the internet on demand, typically on a subscription basis. Like, what is Azure? It is a software as a service in a way, right? You are just signed up for the subscription and you can use all your for your infrastructure need. With the software as a service, cloud provider hosts and manages the software application, underlying infrastructure, and handle any maintenance, for example, software upgrades, security patching, and different type of upgrades to your applications, right? So that is more like a software as a service. So in this topic, what we have done, we just went to the mostly about the Azure computing portion. We learned about this Microsoft Azure console, how we can create the cloud resource, what was the architecture of it. Also, we did talk about the Azure platform. What are the things at a data layer? What are the things available at application layer? What are the things available at integration layer and the client layer? What are the benefits for it, as well as the Azure services? In the next lecture, we will start creating a sample resource in the Azure cloud environment. Okay, so let's just start doing that.